मार्क मिलर इमीग्रेशन मिनिस्टर कनेडा का उन्होंने सवाल पूछा कि कनेडा च एक बहुत बड़ा वर्ग है जिहड़ा इमीग्रेशन के खिलाफ आ, जिहड़ा नहीं चाहता कि कनेडा दे विच रेफ्यूजीज आउण, जिहड़ा नहीं चाहता कि कनेडा दे विच होर अंतरराष्ट्रीय विद्यार्थी आउण, जिहड़ा नहीं चाहता कि विजिटर वीजे जो बड़ी गिनती च कनेडा च लगदे पए ने वो लगण। इन्हां सारे कुछ के खिलाफ ने इमीग्रेशन के। पर की कनेडा का इमीग्रेशन तो बिना गुजारा हो सकता, या फिर ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਂਟੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਆਉਂਦੇ 5 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਤੇ 10 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਓਗੇ।
There have always been a few like groups of Canadians who are always against the immigration. Even nowadays we see a lot of hate towards the refugees coming to Canada, towards the international students coming to Canada, towards the visitors coming to Canada, and towards the work visa whatsoever they're coming. What do you want to say to those? And other thing, how do government plan on for the immigration? Like, do we have a 5-year plan or 10-year plan for the immigration?
So there's two distinct questions in there. I think the first one is the most important. How do we deal with the wave of, I would say, immigrant skepticism, and there is some hate in there. I'm not naive. There is some hate in there from people. Most people that hate immigrants have never met them. I mean, they live in relatively isolated environments. I still believe we're an open, loving country, but there is, there has been, particularly over the last few years, growing anti-immigrant sentiments in various countries that are in similar situations as us, and with the prevalence of global media, social media, Canada isn't immune at all to that criticism, and we have homegrown racism that exists, whether it's people that have been here for generations or people that become Canadian citizens and decide to shut the door. They say shut the door after. That exists as well in diaspora communities, so it exists everywhere. It's a reflection of our own frailties as human beings, of our own prejudices as human beings, but I think it's something as politicians, and I would think as well in the media, that we have to fight back against and dispel. We do ourselves a disservice when we have an immigration system that doesn't make sense. Not that that should be the reason for someone to hate another person, but when you see an immigration system that overheats or has challenges or has made mistakes or processing times that don't make sense, people compare, they contrast, they say, how come I can't bring my grandparents in, or how come I can't bring my parents in, but I can bring in a student within 24 hours, or they give me crazy examples to illustrate their points. But at the end of the day, it's about the distrust and the hate that someone bears in their heart towards another person. And I think that as a fundamental element of human nature, we have to fight back against. Different parts of the country have different approaches to immigrants. Some of the polling that we see about attitudes towards immigration would surprise people. There's a tendency to think certain provinces think more negatively about that. You'd be surprised by some of the polling we see about where the most negative views towards immigrants exist. It's sometimes a bit surprising. Again, I'm part of a government that has put front and center the fight against racism. It's something that and systemic racism, it's something we need to continue to do. But we also have to do it in a realistic sense, that this is not something that goes away simply because we stand in front of a podium and say it should go away. We have to continue working on it and continuing to have dialogue, including around the dinner table, for me, the Christmas table, or for whatever religious event you have. I have relatives that have some very negative views about immigrants. I'm sure you have some that harbor those as well. You can't just shut the door on those people. As much as you don't like their opinion, you have to continue talking to them and hopefully convince them that you're right. On the immigration levels, as a statutory matter, we announced every year a 3-year forward-looking plan. Our strategic reviews have said we should probably do longer, particularly when we talk about infrastructure cycles. But right now there's a 3-year forward-looking plan that's announced every year, and we continue to do that. Always open to look at to do more. It's important for provinces to look at that for planning purposes. Not that they always follow whatever we announce federally, but it is an important guide. But right now the clear guide with metrics from the federal government is announced every fall, and I will be announcing this fall the numbers that we plan for the next 3 years, which usually mirror the ones from last few years, but perhaps with some adjustments.
ਸੋ ਇਹ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣੀ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਖੀਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਕੋਲ ਆਪਣਾ 5-10 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਲਾਨ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਸਿਰਫ ਅਗਲੇ 3 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਨੰਬਰਸ ਦੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਅਗਲੇ 3 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੱਕੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਨੰਬਰਸ ਨੇ। ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਲਾਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਸੀਂ 5-5 ਲੱਖ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ ਸੱਦਣਾ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਨਫਰਾਸਟ੍ਰਕਚਰ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੀ ਪਲਾਨਸ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਕੂਲਸ ਨਵੇਂ ਬਿਲਡ ਕਰਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਬਜਟ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਸੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਹਸਪਤਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਪੂਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ, ਕੀ ਨਵਾਂ ਇਨਫਰਾਸਟ੍ਰਕਚਰ ਉਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਪਲਾਨਸ ਨੇ, ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਸੋ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣੀਆਂ, ਆਪਣੀ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕਰਿਓ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੋਗਰਾਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਾਲੂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਆਗਿਆ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਟੀਵੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ।